The Harvest.
Greetings, Africa FM listeners. This is Widad Allaoua with your Pan-African News appointment. Al-Islam Gaddafi, the son of former Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi, has been killed in town of Zintan. The circumstances of his death have not been announced, although trusted local media are reporting that he was killed by armed men in his home. The Libyan Presidential Council expresses its deep sorrow for the assassination, calling on all political forces to await the outcomes of the official investigation, which will be closely monitored to ensure that there is no impunity, and rejecting the undermining of the efforts toward national reconciliation and the holding of free elections. More details on the assassination with Iman Nouad.
Libya is now shaken as Saif al-Islam al-Gaddafi, son of the late President Muammar al-Gaddafi, is reported murdered in Zintan. Masked gunmen stormed in his home, as his political team says, calling it a cowardly and treacherous assassination. Now details remain unclear, but senior officials demand an urgent investigation into the killing of the 53-year-old once considered his father's heir. Murad Salami, a specialist on Libya's file, explains.
Observers are now wondering about the secret behind the assassination of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi at this very moment. He had been in Libya in the recent years and was settled in Zintan, and he had not made any politically noticeable moves since he reigned in the 2021 presidential elections. So why did his assassination happen now? Saif al-Islam was not a prominent Libyan figure, despite being the son of Colonel Gaddafi. Nevertheless, he brings together many influential Libyan figures and represents an option for the Libyan people, given their longing and their sense of grievance following the departure of Colonel Gaddafi. When comparing the situation in Libya now, chaos, instability, and the economic and social hardship experienced by ordinary Libyans, the Gaddafi era thus represents a distant dream for them after nearly 15 years of experience. So in whose interest was this assassination? It is clear that the actors currently present on the Libyan political scene in all its factions do not take lightly the existence of such a figure who could represent a future direction for Libyans. Accordingly, the assassination of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi falls within a logical framework of eliminating potential rivals to the current authority.
With Libya already mired in political chaos, the question now is, how will Saif al-Islam's death reshape the country's fragile power dynamics?
International Union of Railways reports about Algeria's 950 kilometers Bishartin-Dov-Garaj-Bilat railway, linking to the Garaj-Bilat mining region and promoting regional development. The line carries freight and passengers, supporting industrial growth and social progress along the corridor, built with the Algerian National Agency for Studies and Monitoring of Railway Investment. President Abdelmajid Tebboune sends a message of gratitude and appreciation to Chinese President Xi Jinping for the congratulatory message he received following the successful launch of Algeria's Allsat-3 satellite from the Jinhuan Satellite Launch Center in China. President Tebboune says the achievement reflects the depth of amity and fruitful cooperation between the two countries and represents the qualitative addition to their historic relations, which are experiencing their strongest phase thanks to the shared political will. During the overseeing of the installation of Algerian parliamentary friendship groups by Algerian President of the Council of Nations, Azzouz Nasri, with the parliaments of several African countries, Rabah Baghali, member of the Council of the Nation and head of the Algerian South African Parliamentary Friendship Group, highlight the significance of the event, stressing that a strong and united African Union is essential to confront the global upheavals currently affecting the world. Let's listen to him speaking in microphone of Ahlam Salam.
Une continuité
Continuity, official diplomas. Through parliamentary diplomacy, we try to support official diplomacy in our bilateral relations. This is important. I think it is the first time it has received so much attention. 9 ambassadors were present. There are 9 friendship groups. I believe this is the first time in the history of the Algerian parliament. This is very important. Right now, a new world order is forming. Despite tension, friendships between African people is growing stronger.
The Moroccan occupation plans to organize the second edition of Seafood for Africa from 4th to 6th February in occupied Sahrawi region Dakhla, an event presented as being dedicated to maritime fishing, aquaculture and the processing of seafood products. The Dakhla local branch of Codesa condemns the announced holding of the Seafood for Africa 2026 event. Yasmin Ben Ashur speaks more on this.
Freedom for Western Sahara cannot wait, says ISACOM. The group asked the European Union to follow court rulings that clearly separate Western Sahara from Morocco. ISACOM warns the European Union not to make deals with Morocco that support the occupation. The group calls the European Union's unfair policies wrong and unacceptable. The group reminds that Morocco controls Western Sahara for more than 50 years. The Sahrawi people have the right to decide their future, supported by the United Nations and the International Court of Justice. Saddam Al-Khatif, First Deputy Secretary General of the Europe section of Codesa. Saddam Al-Khatif, First Deputy Secretary General of the Europe section of Codesa, explains.
This forum, presented as a major African gathering, is in reality being held in an occupied territory. The problem is that an international event with African partners is being used to normalize the Moroccan occupation and create the illusion of institutional and economic normalcy. This is a well-known strategy of the Moroccan occupying force, to turn the exploitation of natural resource, in this case fishing, into a tool of political legitimization, completely disregarding the Sahrawi people, their consent and their fundamental right to self-determination. This type of initiative raises serious legal and ethical questions. International law makes clear that exploitation of resources of an occupied territory without the consent of its people is illegal. Practicing in this forum risks becoming the complicit in economic plunder and in normalizing the occupation under the guise of African development and cooperation. We therefore call on the organizers, states, companies, and participating institutions not to associate with activities held in an occupied territory, and in particular to respect international law. Development cannot be built on denial of a people and the violation of their rights.
European Union courts, especially in 2016, say that Western Sahara cannot be part of any European Union Morocco agreement without the consent of Sahrawi people and their representative, the Polisario Front.
In Sudan, the chairman of Sovereign Council and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, announces the reopening of the road leading to Kadogli, the capital of South Kordofan state, effectively ending the siege imposed on the city. This coincides with the announcement by Masad Boulos, senior advisor to the U.S. President for African and Arab Affairs, who declares the agreement reached with the Quartet Committee on the final formula of a peace agreement for Sudan. Experts and researchers participating in the Cairo International Book Fair clarify that achieving water security in the Nile Basin depends on adopting diplomatic approaches based on dialogue and cooperation, rather than conflict and political confrontation. According to experts, sustainable development cannot be achieved without collective management of shared water resources. Algerian Airlines Group announces in an official statement the resumption of the Algiers-Johannesburg route with 3 flights per week. The reopening of this route comes as part of efforts to strengthen the group's network across the African continent and as a response to the growing demand for destinations in the region. Algeria will host a high-level regional meeting titled North Africa, Connecting Continents and Creating Opportunities at the at the Abdel Latif Rahal International Conference Center. The event will bring together experts, decision makers, and economic stakeholders to explore ways of deepening regional integration, strengthening cooperation between North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Europe. The World Health Organization announces the requirement of $1 billion to address health crises in 36 regions worldwide, including Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Gaza. The organization says that 239 million people will need urgent health assistance this year, warning of worsening health needs due to conflicts and disease outbreaks. 2 people confirmed killed and 3 others injured in an armed attack in the village of Gonikera in northern Central African Republic. The attack reportedly linked to the theft of around 10 head of cattle belonging to Translitional herders. Shifting to economy, the government of Benin, the African Development Bank Group, and the African Circular Economy Alliance will officially launch the action plan for the circular economy of Benin on February 4th, 2026 in Cotonou. This initiative is funded by the African Circular Economy Facility Trust Fund, established by the bank group to promote the transitional circular economic models on the continent. More details with Isaiah Natokonda.
The Beninese government, in landmark partnership with the African Development Bank, officially unveils its National Circular Economy Action Plan. The 10-year strategy, launched this hour at the Novotel in Cotonou, aims to do one thing: turn waste into wealth. This is far more than a recycling initiative. Officials are calling it a total economic reboot, targeting a complete overhaul of the agriculture, plastics, and construction sectors. The stakes are high, with the plan aiming to drastically slash Benin's dependency on foreign imports by shifting to a circular model. Crucially, it is expected to unlock a massive new sector of green jobs for the nation's youth, answering one of the continent's most urgent economic challenges. Backed by the AFDB's Africa Circular Economy Facility, this green push is designed to position Benin as a sustainable hub of the region. Representatives say the goal is to turn environmental challenges into a primary driver of the national GDP. The message from Cotonou today is clear: the blueprint is signed, the funding is flowing, and Benin is officially open for sustainable business.
Concluding with sports, the Algerian futsal team faces Guinea today. The match, taking place at Conakry, is part of the Africa Cup of Nations 2026 qualifiers. This was the Harvest of the Day. Thank you for your attention. It was directed by Yasmin Bekay, controlling board with Kareem, streaming service with Riyadh. Join us again tomorrow at the same time, 3 p.m. only at Afriqiya FM.
Good news to our listeners. In addition to our previous frequencies, you can now follow Afriqiya FM on 88.9 FM in Algiers and its